My hands are shaking so violently I can barely hold my phone as I stand in the hospital parking lot at 3 a.m, the weight of what I've done crushing my chest like a physical thing. Inside that building, my little sister Marin is dying. Actually dying. The doctors gave her 6 months without the experimental treatment, and I've spent the last 4 of those months watching her waste away in a hospital bed, while insurance companies debate whether a 20-year-old art student's life is worth saving. The treatment costs $50,000. $50,000 I don't have, will never have, could never earn in time, even if I worked 3 jobs for the next 5 years. So I did the unthinkable. I stole it. Before we get deep into this story, please, my mom said I can't make it to 1,000 subscribers before December. I want you guys to help me prove her wrong by subscribing to my channel and telling me the country you are watching from and your time. Now let's go back to my story, not from some abstract corporation or wealthy stranger who wouldn't miss it, from Gerald Finch, my boss at Finch & Associates, a man who's made my life hell for 3 years, but who keeps exactly $50,000 in cash in his office, safe for reasons I've never understood and never questioned until desperation made me bold. I spent 6 weeks learning his patterns, memorizing the safe combination I watched him enter through a gap in his door, planning the perfect moment. Last Friday, while he was at his country club, bragging about his 3rd mistress, I walked into his office and took every dollar. The money's already gone, transferred to the hospital, processed, treatment started. Marin had her first infusion yesterday, and the doctors are cautiously optimistic, which is the first hope I've felt in months. But hope doesn't erase guilt. It doesn't stop the nausea that's been churning in my stomach since I closed that safe, or the nightmares where I'm arrested in front of Marin's hospital bed, dragged away while she screams for me. I'm not a thief. I'm not a criminal. I'm Nora Calloway, 28 years old, college-educated, law-abiding citizen who's never even gotten a parking ticket. Until now. Until I became so desperate that I crossed a line I can never uncross, and now I have to live with what I've done. I need to tell someone. I need to confess. I need advice from someone who can help me figure out what comes next, because Gerald will notice the missing money eventually. Probably Monday when he goes to count his hoard like some greedy dragon, and when he does, I'll be the first person he suspects. I've been his executive assistant for 3 years. I have access to his office. I'm the obvious culprit, and I'm terrified. I pull up my contacts, scrolling for Jamie Hutchins, my friend from college, who went to law school and now works in criminal defense. Jamie will know what to do. Jamie will tell me if I should turn myself in or run or... What? My vision is blurred with tears as I find her number and start typing, my thumbs clumsy on the screen. I stole $50,000 from my boss. I know it was wrong, but my sister was dying and I had no choice. Insurance denied her treatment, and I watched her fade for months, and I couldn't let her die. I took the cash from his safe last Friday. He doesn't know yet, but he will soon. I don't know what to do. I'm so scared. Please tell me what happens now. Please help me. I hit send before I can second-guess myself, before fear can make me delete the confession, and I immediately feel both lighter and more terrified. It's out there now. Someone knows. Someone can help me figure out how to survive this nightmare I've created. My phone buzzes almost immediately, and I expect Jamie's shocked response. Maybe some all-caps disbelief or a phone call demanding details. Instead, I see a message from an unknown number that makes my blood turn to ice. I'm your new boss. We need to talk. Now. I stare at the message, my brain refusing to process what I'm reading. New boss? What new boss? I work for Gerald Finch, have worked for him for 3 years in his boutique consulting firm that helps wealthy people hide their money from taxes. Unless something happened. Unless the firm was sold. Unless I just confessed grand larceny to someone who has power over my employment and possibly my freedom. My hands shake harder as I scroll up to check the number I sent that confession to, and my stomach drops through the floor. It's 1 digit off from Jamie's number. 1 single digit, and I just admitted to a felony to a complete stranger who claims to be my new boss. This can't be happening. This is a nightmare. This is the universe punishing me for stealing, for being a criminal, for thinking I could get away with saving my sister's life through illegal means. "Who is this?" I type back, my fingers trembling so hard I have to retype it 3 times. "How do you know where I work?" The response comes within seconds, calm and authoritative in a way that makes my panic spike higher. "Silas Mercer. I acquired Finch & Associates last week. The announcement goes public Monday. Your employee file says you're Nora Calloway, executive assistant to Gerald Finch, the same Gerald Finch you just confessed to stealing from. If you're loving this story already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't want to miss how this unfolds." My knees give out and I sink onto the curb in the hospital parking lot, my vision swimming with tears and terror. Silas Mercer. The name is vaguely familiar in the way billionaire names are. Someone I've seen in business magazines. Maybe heard mentioned in Gerald's angry rants about new money and tech bros ruining traditional finance. And he bought my company. He owns my company. He's my new boss. And I just handed him a confession that could destroy my life. "Please don't call the police," I type desperately, tears streaming down my face and dripping onto my phone screen. "I know what I did was wrong. I'll pay it back somehow. I'll work for free. I'll do anything. Please. My sister is 20 years old and she's dying and insurance wouldn't cover her treatment and I had no other choice. Please." I'm begging a stranger for mercy, and I hate how pathetic I sound, but I'm beyond pride now. I'm beyond dignity. I'm a woman who stole $50,000 and got caught before I even had time to enjoy the relief of saving my sister's life. "Where are you?" The question comes through, simple and direct, and I freeze because every instinct screams not to tell him, not to make myself more vulnerable than I already am. But what choice do I have? He knows my name, where I work, what I've done. He could call the police right now and have me arrested. At least if I cooperate, maybe he'll show mercy. Mercy General Hospital, parking lot C. I send the message and immediately regret it, my mind conjuring images of police cars pulling up, handcuffs, Marin watching from her window as her sister is arrested for trying to save her life. But instead of sirens, I get another message. "Stay there. I'm 20 minutes away. Don't move. Don't panic. We're going to fix this." Fix this? How do you fix grand larceny? How do you fix a confession sent to the exact wrong person at the exact wrong time? How do you fix the fact that I'm a criminal who deserves whatever's coming? I sit on that curb for the longest 20 minutes of my life, watching cars come and go, watching the night shift nurses trudge toward the building with their coffee cups and tired faces. And I wonder if this is the last night of my freedom. I wonder if I should run. I wonder if I should go up to Marin's room and tell her goodbye just in case. But I don't move. I sit and wait like he told me to, because running would only make things worse. And somehow I trust that calm, authoritative voice in those text messages more than I trust my own judgment right now. A black Range Rover pulls into the parking lot exactly 20 minutes later, and I watch as it glides toward me with the kind of precision that suggests the driver knows exactly where to find me. It parks 3 spaces away, and a man steps out who steals whatever breath I have left in my lungs. Silas Mercer is nothing like I expected. He's young, maybe 35 at most, with dark blonde hair that's slightly too long to be corporate, sharp features that look carved from marble, and eyes that are an impossible shade of green even in the sodium parking lot lights. He's wearing jeans and a black sweater despite the late hour, like he got dressed in a hurry, and he's tall enough that I have to tilt my head back as he approaches. He's beautiful in a way that makes him more terrifying, because beautiful rich men don't show up at 3 a.m. to help criminals. They show up to destroy them. Nora Calloway? His voice is exactly like his texts, calm, controlled, authoritative, and I nod because words have abandoned me completely. He studies me for a long moment, those green eyes cataloging my tear-stained face. My wrinkled scrubs from the hospital cafeteria where I picked up a shift to be close to Marin. My complete and utter devastation. "Let's take a walk," he says finally, gesturing toward a path that winds around the hospital building. "You're going to tell me everything, and I'm going to help you. But I need the whole truth. Understand?" I don't understand anything except that this stranger is offering help instead of handcuffs, so I nod again and follow him into the darkness, praying I'm not making the biggest mistake of my life. We walk in silence for several minutes. The only sounds are footsteps on pavement and the distant wail of an ambulance. Finally, Silas speaks. "Start from the beginning. Your sister's diagnosis, the insurance denials, how you decided to steal from Gerald Finch, all of it." So I tell him. I tell him about Marin's collapse during her sophomore year at art school, about the diagnosis of acute myeloid leukemia that came 3 days before her 20th birthday. I tell him about the first round of chemotherapy that insurance covered, about the remission that lasted 4 beautiful months before the cancer came roaring back more aggressive than before. I tell him about the experimental treatment being tested at Johns Hopkins, about the 90% success rate, about the insurance company's determination that it was investigational and therefore not covered, despite our appeals and Marin's oncologist's desperate advocacy. I tell him about watching my baby sister waste away, about her asking me if she was going to die and not knowing how to lie convincingly, about the night she stopped fighting and told me it was okay to let her go. And I tell him about the moment I decided I would rather be a criminal than live in a world without Marin, about planning the theft with shaking hands and a breaking heart, about the $50,000 I took and will never be able to pay back. When I finish, I'm crying so hard I can barely breathe, and Silas has stopped walking. We're standing in a small courtyard with a fountain, and he's watching me with an expression I can't read. "Gerald Finch is a tax cheat and a fraud," Silas says finally, his voice hard. "I bought his company because I'm shutting it down. His consulting firm is a front for helping wealthy clients evade taxes and hide assets. I've been investigating him for 6 months, and I have enough evidence to put him in prison for the next decade." I stare at him, my tears momentarily forgotten in shock. "What? He's a criminal, Nora. Worse than you'll ever be because he steals from everyone and feels entitled to it. That $50,000 in his safe? Probably skimmed from client accounts or kickbacks from offshore banks. You didn't steal from an honest man. You took money from a thief." Silas steps closer, and I catch his scent. Something expensive and cedar-like that makes my head spin. "But that doesn't change the fact that you confessed to a felony. To me, your new boss. So here's what's going to happen." My heart stops as I wait for the verdict, for whatever punishment this stranger has decided I deserve. "You're going to come work directly for me," Silas says, and my brain short-circuits trying to process those words. "Not as an executive assistant, as a financial analyst in my corporate development group. The pay is triple what Finch was paying you, with full benefits, including the best health insurance money can buy for you and your sister. You'll help me build the case against Finch by providing insider knowledge about his operations, and in exchange, I will personally ensure that the $50,000 you took never gets traced back to you." I'm staring at him like he's speaking a foreign language, because this can't be real. This can't be happening. "Why?" I whisper. "Why would you do that for me? You don't know me. I'm a criminal. I just confessed to stealing." "You're not a criminal," Silas interrupts, his voice firm. "You're a sister who saved the only family she has left. There's a difference." He pulls out his phone and shows me a photo of a young woman with a bright smile and kind eyes. "My sister Hannah died when I was 22. Cystic fibrosis. Insurance wouldn't cover the lung transplant because they deemed her too high risk. I was in graduate school, broke, no resources. I watched her die, knowing that if I'd been rich enough, powerful enough, I could have saved her. I swore then that I'd never let money be the reason someone loses a person they love. The grief in his voice is so raw, it makes my chest ache. And suddenly this mysterious billionaire who showed up in the night makes sense. He's not helping me out of pity or manipulation. He's helping me because he knows exactly what it feels like to be powerless while someone you love dies. I'm sorry, I whisper, fresh tears streaming down my face. I'm so sorry about Hannah. So am I, Silas says quietly. But I can help you in a way no one could help me. So let me, please. It's the please that breaks me, because men like him, powerful, wealthy, untouchable, don't say please to girls like me. They command, they demand, they take. But Silas is asking, offering, giving me a choice, even though we both know I have no real alternatives. Okay, I breathe. Okay, I'll work for you. I'll help you take down Gerald. I'll do whatever you need. His smile transforms his entire face, softening those sharp features into something almost gentle. Good. Now take me to meet your sister. I want to see the person worth risking everything for. And just like that, Silas Mercer walks into my life and changes absolutely everything. Marin is asleep when we slip into her hospital room, but even in sleep, she looks more alive than she has in months. Her color is better, her breathing easier, and seeing her like this makes me believe that maybe I didn't destroy my life for nothing. She's beautiful, Silas whispers, studying Marin's face with something like wonder. She looks like you. She's better than me, I say softly, brushing hair from Marin's forehead. She's kind and talented, and she sees the best in everyone. She's everything good in this world, and she deserves to live. She will live, Silas says with such certainty that I almost believe him. The treatment will work, and she'll go back to art school, and she'll have a long, beautiful life. I promise you. I want to ask how he can promise something like that. But before I can, Marin's eyes flutter open. She sees me first. Then her gaze slides to Silas, and her eyebrows raise in a question that makes me blush. Marin, this is Silas Mercer, I say quickly. He's my new boss. He wanted to meet you. At 3 a.m, Marin asks, her voice weak but amused. She's sharp even when dying, and I love her desperately for it. Your sister and I had some business to discuss, Silas says smoothly, moving to sit in the chair beside her bed. But I insisted on meeting you because Nora talks about you constantly. The brilliant artist, the fighter, the reason she gets up every morning. Marin's eyes fill with tears and she reaches for my hand. She's the reason I'm still fighting, she whispers. She's the reason I'm here at all. I squeeze her hand, unable to speak past the lump in my throat, and Silas watches us with an expression so full of old grief. I know he's seeing himself and Hannah in our joined hands. We stay for another hour, Silas asking Marin about her art and her dreams, and what she wants to do when she's better. And I watch this powerful stranger treat my dying sister like she matters, like her life has value, like saving her was the only rational choice I could have made. When Marin finally falls back asleep, exhausted by the conversation, Silas walks me to my car. Monday morning, 8 a.m., my office, he says, handing me a business card with an address in downtown Seattle's most expensive building. Wear something professional. You're starting your new life. What about Gerald? I ask, fear creeping back in. What if he notices the money before Monday? He won't, Silas says with absolute confidence. I'm having my team execute the acquisition over the weekend. By Monday morning, Finch and Associates will be dissolved, Gerald will be under investigation, and you'll be safely employed by Mercer Industries. He'll never get the chance to suspect you. Relief floods through me so intensely, I sway on my feet, and Silas steadies me with a hand on my elbow. Thank you, I whisper. I don't know why you're doing this, but thank you. I'm doing it because it's right, Silas says simply. And because I think you're going to be extraordinary, Nora Calloway, I just need you to start believing it too. Monday morning arrives with the kind of perfect Seattle rain. That feels like a cleansing, and I stand outside Mercer Industries headquarters in the new suit I charged to a credit card I can't afford, trying to convince myself I belong here. The building is all glass and steel, soaring 40 stories into the gray sky with the Mercer Industries logo, a stylized M that looks like a fortress, etched into the entrance. Inside, the lobby is like something from a dream. Marble floors, living walls of ferns and moss, abstract art that probably costs more than my entire life. The receptionist directs me to the 38th floor, and I ride the elevator with my heart in my throat, wondering if this is real or if I'll wake up and find myself still sitting in that parking lot, still waiting for handcuffs. But the elevator doors open to reveal a sleek office space where a woman in her 50s, with kind eyes and perfect posture, is waiting. Nora Calloway? I'm Patricia, Mr. Mercer's executive assistant. He's expecting you. She leads me through a maze of glass-walled offices and conference rooms, and I catch glimpses of beautiful people doing important things on expensive computers. And I wonder what I'm doing here. I'm a girl who barely graduated with a business degree, who spent 3 years filing Gerald's expense reports and booking his mistress's hotel rooms. I'm not equipped for this world. Are you still with me? If this story is pulling you in, drop an emoji in the comments. Let me know if you're Team Silas yet. Patricia opens a door to an office that takes my breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook Puget Sound, the rain creating rivers down the glass that distort the view into something abstract and beautiful. Silas is standing by those windows, phone to his ear, and when he sees me, he holds up one finger. Wait. And finishes his conversation in rapid French that sounds like music. He hangs up and turns to me with a smile that makes my stomach flip in a way that's definitely inappropriate for a boss. Nora, perfect timing. I was just finalizing the Finch acquisition. He gestures to a chair across from his desk, a massive piece of reclaimed wood that probably costs more than my car. How's Marin this morning? Better, I say, sinking into the chair because my knees are shaking. The doctors are encouraged by her response to the first treatment cycle. Good. I've arranged for Dr. Chen from Johns Hopkins to consult on her case remotely. She's the lead researcher on the trial. Your sister is getting the absolute best care now. The casual way he says it, like arranging consultations with world-renowned oncologists, is something normal people do, makes me realize exactly how out of my depth I am. Silas, I need to ask, I say, forcing myself to meet his eyes. Why are you really doing all this? The job, the insurance, helping Marin? You don't know me. What if I'm terrible at this job? What if I can't help you build a case against Gerald? You won't be terrible, Silas says with such certainty, almost believe him. I don't make bad hiring decisions, Nora. I saw your work at Finch's firm, the way you organized his chaos, caught his mistakes, kept everything running despite him being actively incompetent. You're smart, detail-oriented, and you have insider knowledge of his operations. That makes you invaluable. He leans forward, his green eyes intense on mine. But more than that, I see something in you that reminds me of who I was after Hannah died. Someone who's been beaten down by circumstances but refuses to stay down. Someone who'll do whatever it takes to protect the people they love. That's the kind of person I want on my team. His words settle into my chest like warmth, and I realize that Silas Mercer sees me in a way no one else ever has. Not as the struggling girl barely keeping her head above water, but as someone with potential. Someone worth investing in. So what do I do first? I ask, straightening my shoulders. Patricia is going to set you up with your office, get you into our systems, and introduce you to your team, Silas says, sliding a folder across the desk. This contains everything we have on Gerald Finch's operations. Bank records, client files, communications. I need you to go through it and identify anything that looks suspicious or illegal. You know his business better than anyone, so you'll catch things my analysts might miss. I open the folder and my stomach drops as I recognize documents I typed myself, emails I sent on Gerald's behalf, client names I scheduled meetings with. Seeing it all compiled like this, evidence of crimes I participated in unknowingly, makes me feel sick. I helped him do these things, I whisper. I sent these emails. I scheduled these meetings. Am I going to be charged too? No, Silas says firmly. You were an employee following orders. You had no knowledge of the illegal nature of his operations. I've already verified that with my legal team. You're protected, Nora. You're a witness, not a co-conspirator. The relief makes me dizzy, and I blink back tears because I can't keep crying every time Silas shows me kindness. I need to be professional. I need to be worthy of this chance he's giving me. The next few weeks pass in a blur of work that challenges me in ways I've never experienced. My team consists of 3 financial analysts who treat me with respect despite my lack of credentials, and together we build a case against Gerald that's so damning. I wonder how he got away with it for so long. I learned that his consulting firm was actually helping clients create shell companies in tax havens, hide assets from the IRS, and funnel money through fraudulent charities. The $50,000 I stole? It was kickback money from a client whose taxes Gerald helped evade, which means I technically stole from a thief who stole from the government. The irony isn't lost on me. But what surprises me most is how good I am at this work. I have an eye for patterns, for discrepancies in numbers that don't quite add up, and Silas notices. He starts calling me into his office for consultations on other projects, asking my opinion on acquisitions and investments, treating me like my thoughts matter. We fall into a rhythm of late nights at the office, working side by side while the city lights flicker below us, and I start to realize that Silas Mercer is more than just my boss or my savior. He's brilliant and funny and surprisingly kind, with a dry sense of humor that catches me off guard and a passion for justice that matches my own. He tells me stories about building his company from nothing, about the mistakes he made and the lessons he learned, and I tell him about Marin's art and our childhood and our mother who died when I was 19, leaving me to raise a 15-year-old alone. You've been carrying the weight of the world for a long time, Silas says one night when we're the last ones in the office. Chinese takeout containers scattered across his desk. When do you get to put it down? I don't, I say simply because it's the truth. Marin needs me. She's always needed me. I'm all she has. You have me now, Silas says quietly, and the way he looks at me makes my breath catch. Both of you. You're not alone anymore, Nora. The moment stretches between us, charged with something dangerous and electric, and I know I'm standing at a precipice. I could step back, keep things professional, maintain the boundaries that should exist between a boss and employee, or I could step forward into something that terrifies and thrills me in equal measure. But before I can decide, Silas's phone rings with a call he has to take, and the moment shatters. I gather my things and flee to my apartment, my heart racing with feelings I absolutely cannot afford to have for a man who holds my entire future in his hands. I'm still trying to process those feelings when everything explodes 3 days later. I'm in my office reviewing client files when Patricia appears in my doorway, her face pale. Nora, you need to come with me, now. The urgency in her voice makes my stomach drop, and I follow her to Silas's office, where I find him on the phone, his face like thunder. When he sees me, he ends the call abruptly. Gerald knows, he says without preamble. Someone tipped him off about our investigation. He's hired a lawyer, and he's claiming that you helped him commit fraud, that you were complicit in his operations. He's trying to make you his scapegoat. The world tilts sideways, and I grab the desk to stay upright. What? No, I didn't. I had no idea. I know that, Silas says, coming around the desk to grip my shoulders. I know you're innocent, but Gerald is desperate, and he's smart enough to know that blaming you might create reasonable doubt about his own guilt. My lawyers are handling it, but you need to be prepared. He's going to come after you hard. How did he find out? I ask, my mind racing. The investigation was supposed to be confidential. I don't know yet, but I will find out, Silas says grimly. Someone in my organization betrayed us. Someone told Gerald we were building a case, and now he's in damage control mode. Fear crashes over me in waves because I know Gerald, know how ruthless he can be when threatened, know that he'll destroy me without hesitation if it means saving himself. I'm getting emotional over here. If you are too, leave a comment and subscribe so you don't miss how Nora fights back. He's going to win, I whisper. He's rich and connected, and I'm nobody. He's going to make everyone believe I'm the criminal. No, Silas says fiercely, his hands still on my shoulders, his green eyes blazing. He's not going to win because I won't let him. You have me, Nora. You have my resources, my lawyers, my protection. Gerald Finch is going to regret the day he decided to make you his enemy. The conviction in his voice steadies me, and I realize that I trust this man completely. I trust him more than I've trusted anyone since my mother died, and that's terrifying in its own way. What do we do? I ask, straightening my spine because I'm done being a victim. We accelerate the timeline, Silas says, releasing me to pull up documents on his computer. We turn everything we have over to the FBI today. We go public with the investigation. And we make damn sure that everyone knows you were an unwitting participant in Gerald's schemes, not a co-conspirator. He looks at me with such intensity I feel it in my bones. But I need to know something first. Is there anything at all, that Gerald could use against you? Any communication, any action, anything that could make you look complicit? I think hard, scrolling through 3 years of employment, and my heart sinks. The safe combination, I watched him enter it through a gap in his door. If he knows I knew the combination, he can claim I had access, that I could have been stealing from him all along. Silas's expression darkens. Did anyone else know you had the combination? No, I never told anyone. I only used it that one time to take the $50,000. The silence that follows is heavy with implications, and I watch Silas's brilliant mind work through the problem. Then we use it against him, he says finally. We leaked to the press that Gerald kept $50,000 in cash in his office safe. We raised questions about where that money came from, why he needed that much cash on hand, whether it was connected to his tax evasion schemes. We make the safe itself evidence of his criminal activity. It's brilliant and ruthless, and I'm in awe of how quickly Silas turned a weakness into a weapon. Won't he just claim I stole it? Let him try, Silas says with a cold smile. My forensic accountants have already traced that money to a Cayman Islands account linked to one of his fraud clients. If he admits the money existed, he admits where it came from, which proves our case. If he denies the odds of money existed, he can't claim you stole it. Either way, he loses. I stare at this man who's somehow become my champion, my protector, my partner in taking down a corrupt bully, and I feel something shift in my chest. This isn't just gratitude anymore. This is something deeper, more dangerous, more real. The next 72 hours are a whirlwind of FBI interviews, lawyer meetings, and media coverage that makes my head spin. Silas's PR team crafts a narrative that paints me as a whistleblower who bravely came forward to expose Gerald's crimes. And while I feel guilty about the lie by omission, because I didn't exactly come forward voluntarily, Silas assures me that intent matters less than impact. You're helping bring down a criminal, he says during a break between depositions. The how matters less than the why, and you did it to save your sister. That's a truth worth protecting. But Gerald doesn't go quietly. His lawyer holds a press conference where he claims I seduced Gerald to gain access to sensitive information, that I stole from clients and blamed him when caught, that I'm a con artist who manipulated my way into Mercer Industries to avoid prosecution. The accusations are so outrageous they'd be laughable if they weren't being broadcast on every news channel, and I watch my character get assassinated in real time. I'm going to sue him for defamation, Silas says when we watch the press conference together, his voice vibrating with rage. I'm going to destroy him so completely, he'll wish he'd never heard your name. Don't, I say quietly, putting my hand over his on the conference table. Let the FBI destroy him. Let the evidence speak for itself. Fighting him in the media just gives him more attention. Silas looks at our joined hands, then up at my face, and something in his expression makes my heart race. I hate watching him hurt you, he says roughly. I hate that he gets to tell lies about you when you're the most honest person I know. You barely know me, I whisper, but I don't pull my hand away. I know enough, Silas says, his thumb brushing over my knuckles. I know you love your sister enough to risk everything. I know you work harder than anyone on my team despite having no formal training. I know you make me laugh when I'm stressed and challenge me when I'm wrong and make me want to be better than I am. I know that somewhere in the last month, you stopped being just an employee and became someone I can't imagine my life without. The confession hangs in the air between us, and I know I should pull away, should maintain professional distance, should not complicate an already complicated situation by admitting that I feel the same way. But I'm so tired of being afraid, tired of denying myself anything good, because I don't think I deserve it. I feel the same way, I admit, my voice barely audible. And it terrifies me because you're my boss and my savior, and you hold all the power, and I don't know if these feelings are real or just gratitude disguised as something else. Wait until you see what happens next. This is where everything changes. Hit that like button if you're invested in Nora and Silas. Then let's find out, Silas says, standing and pulling me to my feet. When this is over, when Gerald is in prison and you're safe, and we've got some distance from all this chaos, let's find out if this is real. Because I think it is, Nora. I think I've been falling for you since the moment you sent me that confession and trusted me to help instead of destroy you. But I need you to be sure. I need you to choose this, choose me, with clear eyes and a full understanding of what it means. And what does it mean? I ask, my heart hammering against my ribs. It means you're mine to protect, Silas says, cupping my face in his hands. It means anyone who hurts you answers to me. It means I will burn down anyone and anything that threatens your happiness. It means I'm all in, Nora Calloway, completely and irrevocably. So you need to decide if you can handle that kind of intensity, if you can handle being loved by someone who doesn't do anything halfway. The word loved hits me like a physical blow, and I stare into those green eyes and see absolute truth. Silas Mercer is in love with me. Against all logic and reason, this brilliant, powerful man loves the broke girl who confessed to a felony via wrong number. And God help me, I love him too. But before I can tell him that, before I can close the distance between us and kiss him the way I've been dreaming about for weeks, Patricia bursts through the door without knocking. "Turn on the news," she says urgently. "Now." Silas grabs the remote and flips to CNN, and we watch as breaking news flashes across the screen. FBI raids Finch and Associates, owner arrested on fraud charges. The footage shows Gerald being led out of his office in handcuffs, his face purple with rage, and I feel something like justice settle into my bones. "We got him," I breathe. "It's over." "Not quite," Silas says, turning up the volume as the reporter continues. In a shocking development, investigators discovered evidence that Gerald Finch was running not just a tax evasion scheme, but a full Ponzi scheme that defrauded clients of over $30 million. Finch attempted to flee when FBI agents arrived, but was apprehended at SeaTac Airport with fake passports and $2 million in cash. The camera pans to show agents carrying boxes of evidence from the office, and I recognize files I worked on, computers I used, furniture I sat on for 3 years while unknowingly facilitating crimes I can barely comprehend. $30 million, I whisper. He stole $30 million, and I had no idea. "Because you were just trying to survive," Silas says gently. You weren't looking for evidence of fraud because you were focused on getting through each day, taking care of your sister, keeping your head down. That's not complicity, Nora. That's just being human. The news continues with interviews of devastated clients who lost their life savings, and I feel sick knowing I helped facilitate, even unknowingly. I need to apologize to them, I say. I need to tell them I'm sorry. You didn't do anything wrong, Silas says firmly. But if it will help you heal, my legal team can arrange for you to meet with victims who want to hear from you. Some of them might appreciate knowing that you're helping build the case. Over the next week, I do exactly that. I meet with 12 of Gerald's victims, retirees who lost pensions, families who lost college funds, small business owners who lost everything. And I tell them the truth, that I had no idea, that I'm horrified by what happened, that I'm doing everything I can to help make it right. Most of them are kind, understanding that I was as much a victim as they were. A few are angry, and I let them be angry because they deserve that outlet. And one, a 70-year-old grandmother who lost $400,000, hugs me and tells me she's glad I'm okay, glad I saved my sister, glad something good came from all this darkness. That hug breaks me in the best way. The trial happens faster than I expected. Gerald's lawyer is unable to overcome the mountain of evidence we provided. I testify for 6 hours, walking the jury through the operations I facilitated without understanding their illegal nature, and when Gerald's lawyer tries to paint me as a seductress and co-conspirator, Silas's lawyer destroys him with documentation of every paycheck I received, every late night I worked, every legitimate task I performed. Miss Calloway was a dedicated employee doing her job, the lawyer says in closing arguments. She had no knowledge of Gerald Finch's criminal activities. The fact that he's trying to blame her for his crimes shows exactly the kind of man he is. A coward who preys on the vulnerable and discards them when convenient. Don't let him victimize Nora Calloway twice. The jury deliberates for 4 hours before returning a guilty verdict on all counts. Gerald is sentenced to 23 years in federal prison, and I watch him being led away, knowing that justice was served, that he'll never hurt anyone else the way he hurt me and Marion and all those clients. When I leave the courthouse, Silas is waiting on the steps, and he pulls me into his arms without caring about the cameras, the reporters, the public scrutiny. It's over, he murmurs into my hair. You're safe now. It's finally over. And just like that, I break. I sob into his expensive suit, months of terror and stress and guilt pouring out in ugly, gasping cries, and Silas just holds me, one hand in my hair and the other around my waist, anchoring me to earth while I fall apart. When I finally pull myself together, I look up to find reporters filming our embrace, and I know this will be tomorrow's news cycle. Billionaire Silas Mercer in a relationship with the woman who helped take down Gerald Finch. I don't care, Silas says when I try to pull away. Let them film, let them speculate. I'm done hiding how I feel about you, Nora. He cups my face in his hands right there on the courthouse steps and kisses me like I'm the air he needs to breathe, and cameras flash like fireworks around us. The kiss is everything I imagined and more. Desperate and tender and claiming all at once. And when we finally break apart, I'm dizzy with joy and terror in equal measure. Take me home, I whisper. Take me to Marion. I need to tell her it's over. Silas does exactly that, driving us to Mercy General, where Marion is recovering from her 3rd treatment cycle. And when we walk into her room holding hands, her face lights up with the brightest smile I've seen in months. Finally, she says, sounding stronger than she has in forever. I've been waiting for you two to figure it out. Did this story touch your heart? Drop a comment and subscribe for more emotional romance. Let me know if you cried. I definitely did writing this. You knew? I ask, laughing through fresh tears, because of course Myron knew. She's always been more perceptive than anyone gives her credit for. Nora, he showed up at 3 a.m. and looked at you like you hung the moon. Marin says, rolling her eyes with affection. I've been watching him fall in love with you for weeks through your stories about work. The question was whether you'd let yourself fall back. I fell hard, I admit, squeezing Silas's hand. Somewhere between the confession and the trial and him protecting me from everything, I fell completely in love with him. Silas's answering smile could power the entire city, and he leans down to kiss my temple. Best wrong number I ever received. He murmurs, and Marin laughs, a real genuine laugh that sounds like music. The doctors release Marin 2 weeks later with news that her cancer is in remission, that the treatment worked better than they hoped, that she'll need monitoring, but the prognosis is excellent. I bring her home to the apartment Silas insisted on getting us, a beautiful 2-bedroom in a safe neighborhood with enough space for Marin to have an art studio, and we spend our first night of freedom ordering pizza and watching terrible reality TV and laughing until we cry. Thank you, Marin says during a commercial break, her head on my shoulder, for saving me, for risking everything, for loving me enough to become a criminal. I'd do it again in a heartbeat, I say honestly. You're worth everything, Marin. You always have been. So is Silas, she says slyly. Have you told him you love him yet? Like, actually said the words? I haven't, I realize. We've been so busy with the trial and Marin's treatment and rebuilding our lives that we haven't had time for important conversations. I will, I promise, soon. But Silas beats me to it. He shows up the next morning with breakfast and flowers and a nervous energy I've never seen from him before. Can we talk? He asks, and Marin takes one look at his face and announces she needs to go sketch in her studio, leaving us alone in the living room. What's wrong? I ask, immediately worried because Silas is never nervous. Nothing's wrong, he says, taking my hands. Everything is right, actually. Too right, which is why I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest in your answer. He takes a breath, and I watch this powerful man struggle with vulnerability. I know we met under unusual circumstances. I know I hold a lot of power in your life. I'm your boss. I helped you through crisis. I have resources you don't. And I never want you to feel obligated to be with me because you think you owe me. So I need to know, if I weren't your boss, if I weren't rich, if I were just Silas the person and you were just Nora the person, would you still want this? Would you still choose me? The question reveals depths of insecurity I never imagined, and I realize that for all his power and wealth, Silas is just as afraid of being used as I am of being abandoned. Yes, Yons, I say without hesitation. 1,000 times yes. I don't love you because you saved me, Silas. I love you because you saw me when I was invisible. I love you because you're brilliant and kind and fierce about protecting the people you care about. I love you because you make me laugh and challenge me to be better and believe in me when I don't believe in myself. I love you because you're you, and I'd choose you even if you had nothing but the clothes on your back. Silas exhales like he's been holding that breath for weeks, and he pulls me into his lap, burying his face in my neck. I love you too, he murmurs against my skin. I love you so much it terrifies me. I've never felt like this about anyone, and I don't know how to do this without going overboard. Then go overboard, I whisper, threading my fingers through his hair. Love me completely. Love me intensely. Love me the way you do everything else, with your whole heart and no reservations. I can handle it, Silas, I promise. He pulls back to look at me, his green eyes blazing with emotion, and then he's kissing me like the world is ending and we're the only two people left in it. We make love for the first time, right there on the couch, slow and tender and perfect, and afterward we lie tangled together while sunlight streams through the windows and paints everything gold. Move in with me, Silas says, his fingers tracing patterns on my bare shoulder. You and Marin. I have a house in Madison Park with enough room for her studio, a pool, a garden. bring her home to somewhere beautiful while she finishes recovering. That's too much, I protest weakly, even though the idea of waking up next to Silas every morning makes my heart sore. It's not enough, Silas counters. You deserve everything, Nora. Let me give it to you. Please. That please undoes me completely, and I realize I'm done fighting against good things coming my way. I'm done believing I don't deserve happiness. Okay, I breathe. Yes, we'll move in with you. 6 months later, I'm standing in our garden, watching Marin show her paintings at a gallery opening Silas helped her organize, and I can barely believe this is my life. Marin is healthy and thriving, her art getting recognition from critics who call her a brilliant new voice in contemporary painting. I've been promoted twice at Mercer Industries, and I'm leading a team investigating corporate fraud, using my experience with Gerald to help catch other white-collar criminals. And Silas proposed last week with a ring that belonged to his grandmother in a speech about building a family together that made me cry so hard I couldn't answer for 5 minutes. We're getting married in the spring, a small ceremony with just Marin and Silas's parents and the friends we've made in our new life. What are you thinking about? Silas asks, coming up behind me and wrapping his arms around my waist. How far we've come, I say, leaning back against his chest. How I texted a confession to the wrong number, and it turned into the best thing that ever happened to me. It was the right number, Silas says, kissing my neck. It was always the right number, Nora. You were always meant to find me, and I was always meant to love you. Everything else was just the universe working itself out. I turn in his arms to face him. This man who saved me and loved me and showed me that I was worth saving and loving. I stole $50,000 and found a million reasons to live, I say, pulling him down for a kiss. Best crime I ever committed. Silas laughs against my lips, and in the distance I hear Marin's laugh mixing with the gallery crowd, and I realize that this is what happiness feels like. Not the absence of pain or struggle, but the presence of people who love you enough to fight through the darkness with you. I was drowning when I sent that text, desperate and alone and convinced I had no other options. But I reached out, even accidentally, even to the wrong number, and someone answered. Someone showed up. Someone decided I was worth saving. And now I stand in a garden surrounded by love and light and second chances, and I know that sometimes the worst mistakes lead to the best outcomes. Sometimes wrong numbers are exactly right. Sometimes confessing to a stranger is the bravest thing you can do. And sometimes, just sometimes, the person on the other end of the line is exactly who you needed all along. The end. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button and subscribe for more emotional romance tales. Drop an emoji in the comments and tell me, have you ever made a mistake that turned into a blessing? Let me know below, and don't forget to turn on notifications for the next story.